The most recent of those being 85 winner Johnny Herbert, whilst the likes of Nigel Mansell and Derek Warwick also grew up in this formula. Started in 1967, it's for single-seater chassis using a single regulation treaded tyre and standard 1600cc Ford engines mildly tuned. Chassis choice comes from 3 main manufacturers with a variety of engine tuners, all producing around 110 horsepower for their drivers. Only one man has won this event twice, and that's Donald McLeod. But back here for a second attempt is last year's winner Nico Palhares, whilst against him this year's British champion Michael Vergers and champions from France Jules Bouillon and Dutch star Martin Kuhner. Lining up then for the first semi-final here at the Formula Ford Festival, it's an all-Irish front row. On pole position is 25-year-old Finn Murray, who's actually been over in Britain doing the British Series in which he finished 3rd this year, whilst alongside him, the 2nd in the Irish Championship, young Michael Edgar. And there on pole position, that is Finn Murray. He won his heat and his quarter-final. That's got him onto the front row for the semi-final. And alongside him, really a surprise of the festival so far, Michael Edgar. We haven't seen him much in Britain at all, but he's certainly having a very impressive Formula Ford Festival. There, though, back on road 10 is the first ever winner of the first Formula Ford Festival, Ian Taylor, winner of this historic event back in 1972, and he's here to enjoy himself and still enjoy his racing. And just 2 rows in front of him, on row 8, there is young Warren Hughes, who won his heat very impressively and was dicing for the lead of his quarter-final before spinning off. So a lot of work to do for Warren Hughes on the 8th row of the grid. The cars then forming up on the grid, awaiting the red lamp, then 10 seconds in the off. The rain is spitting onto the commentary box window. It's been dry for all the heats in the quarterfinals. It's going to stay dry for this semi. 15 laps, the start's so important. But on the front row, the favourite for the race, Finn Murray. And it's green and go, and Murray from pole position makes the race. Edgar, though, is holding him all the way up to paddock. There's a queue behind Russell Ingall, the Australian champion, the Yellow Van Diemen, trying to get through. But Murray held his line up to paddock, and through he goes. Out wide there's cars trying to get a place, but Edgar trying to go around the outside of Murray. Murray holding that inside, but Edgar now right the way, long way around the outside. But he doesn't burn. Very bold move by Edgar. Murray leads. Edgar 2nd. Australian champion Russell Ingall in 3rd. So, settling down out front, Finn Murray after that attack from Michael Edgar. Edgar determined to try and take the lead in the first 2 quarters, but Murray now got a little bit of breathing space as the rest of the field streamed through clearways. There, Warren Hughes, middle of the pack, a lot of work to do for him. And now it's Ingall trying to take 2nd place off Edgar while Murray gets away. Ingall trying the long way up at paddock. He'll now try and get tight up the inside for Druids. But all the time, Finn Murray, he got the start from pole position. He's hoping now that Edgar will be kept very busy by Ingall and he can make his getaway at the front. Young junior Jeremy Cottrell in 4th place there. These 4, a little bit of a breathing space, the rest behind. But Ingall all over the back of Edgar. Edgar holding the inside up to Surtees. Murray getting away at the front. Certainly Finn Murray will be happy his fellow Irishman's having this amazing dice for 2nd. But Russell Ingall wants to get past and get after Murray. Jeremy Cottrell, the young English junior, moving up in 4th place and closing on the 2 in front as Ingall looks again. There we have a spinner. That's Chris Hall, sadly one of the champions. Edgar now on the inside. Ingall alongside on the outside, but again Edgar holds that inside racing line. In the dip of Paddock Hill Bend, up to Druids. Ingall looking this way and that. Always very difficult overtaking at Brands Hatch. You have to build up the overtaking manoeuvre, look ahead, trying to make a move. 2 corners ahead now. Edgar will be merely moving. He can't really get through there. He goes back to the racing line. He'll look, a possibility occurs now. He can pull tighter inside at clearways and up the inside, but no room there. Murray looks like he made a mistake because all of a sudden Edgar's much closer to Murray. Finn Murray must have made a slight mistake there because certainly Edgar is much closer than he was before. He's settled down again. There's more spots of rain on the commentary box, and there again Finn Murray goes wide. Maybe the rain is getting on the track because certain Edgar now, Murray in trouble. having to block his position again. The spots of rain, and Edgar is closing in as Murray makes a bit of a mess of things. Again, there the car sliding through Graham Hill Bend. Russell Ingall no longer as close as he was to Edgar. Edgar, of course, here in there again, Finn Murray goes very wide. Murray in a Reynard chassis, the three following cars all in Van Diemen's. And Finn Murray doesn't seem to be as comfortable as he was, sliding out of clearways. There, Ingall third, Cottrell fourth. Another spinner there at Surtees, where that's Moss Thorpe, who's had a very good first festival, a young driver, many more races ahead for him. But up front, it's all about Finn Murray and Michael Edgar. Northern Ireland trying to attack Era. Two Irish drivers battling right at the front, both young drivers, and these two now dropping Ingall, who maybe enjoys the Australian sunshine more than the drizzle rain of Brands Hatch. So there, we see out front, I see in the background, Cottrell has got through. Ingall slid wide at Graham Hill Bend, and young Adrian Cottrell, the British junior, has moved up into third place. But the battle out front really is raging. Michael Edgar getting closer and closer, and Finn Murray looking very uncomfortable in these dampening conditions. The drizzle, the rain is beginning to get heavier, and although he seems to be able to pull away on the exit of clearways, Edgar closes in under braking so impressively. Cottrell now moving ahead away from Ingall, and Cottrell trying to catch these two. But certainly Murray is on the brakes earlier than Edgar. Edgar very late on the brakes, and it's really is just looking for a way by. Only 5 laps, 1/3 distance completed, another 10 laps more to go. There again you see already using the wet, wider line around Graham Hill Bend. There's more grip off the normal racing line. There's so much rubber laid down on the tighter racing lines. The drivers tend to go wide, and they're much too wide. Again, Murray in trouble. Edgar sliding, and this really is tremendous stuff. Jeremy Cottrell all the time is closing in behind as the track gets more and more like a skating rink as the drizzle continues to come down. And this is a fantastic drive by Michael Edgar, really the surprise of the festival so far, as one of the real favourites. Finn Murray comes under increasing pressure. Up to paddock, Murray holds that inside line, Edgar goes wide, hoping to cut inside on the way up to Druids, and he's done it. That is a beautiful manoeuvre, a classic paddock bend up to Druids. He's got the inside line now, and Murray loses that lead. So Edgar there did the classic manoeuvre, he held up wide. We see as Finn Murray held the tight racing line, Edgar went wide and then chopped back down the inside and got the line up to Druids, and now he's pulling away out front. Michael Edgar from Northern Ireland leading the semi-final. Finn Murray immediately under pressure from young Jeremy Cottrell, the junior, who is going to have a look up the inside at clearways, but not to be on this lap. But Jeremy Cottrell, a maturing young driver, going better and better. Maces in the junior championships, he was the third best junior this year behind Warren Hughes, who was the best, and Warren Hughes of course moving up into that 6th place. In fact, Warren Hughes now up to 7th place from 15th on the grid, so it's a tremendous comeback for Warren Hughes. The first three now, Finn Murray, a bit of breathing space to Cottrell, a long gap back to Russell Ingall in 4th, the Australian champion, nevertheless having a very good showing indeed. So these front three now, look how greasy it is there. Edgar sliding, Surtees corner, maybe the greases, or Ingall there in 4th. In 5th place, that looks like maybe Simon Harris in the grid. There's Warren Hughes up to 6th place in the Ferrari look-alike Van Diemen. So Warren Hughes revelling in these conditions. He must have been very upset with himself for spinning off in his quarter-final that put him so far back on the grid. He was 15th on the grid to start this race. He's up to 6th place, and he's the man on the move. Only just over half distance completed, so Warren Hughes has got plenty of time to make up more places. Every position meaning another row further up on the grid for the final, so maybe Warren Hughes' festival. There's Ingall going out of shot behind Ingall. In fact, that's the Brazilian Duda Rosa, not Simon Harrison. Duna Rosa is the next target for Warren Hughes. A gaggle behind him of typical Formula Ford. Battles all over the place, but Warren Hughes will be hoping to move away from this particular battle. He's got a young French driver, Eric Angevy, behind him. He was second in the French Championship, and it's good to see so many French drivers over for this year's festival and doing very well. Angevy, in fact, staying with Hughes for the whole of that lap. So Angevy learning quickly how to go the quick way around Brands Hatch in the wet by following Warren Hughes. Indeed, Hughes seems to be more under pressure from Angevy and not moving ahead. He needs to get on and chase Duna Rosa, the Brazilian, ahead of him. Although these cars, of course, all run the same treaded Dunlop tyre, by regulations there, Ingle, and really Hughes not really much closer to Duna Rosa at all this time. And Angevy trying the long way around the outside of Hughes. That's a brave manoeuvre by the Frenchman. It's very greasy, but certainly it shows that Hughes isn't going forwards anymore. He's got to 6th place, and that seems to be as far as he's going to get at the moment. In fact, he may lose that 6th place any minute now as Angevy looks up the inside. But I was saying all these drivers use the same treaded tyre, but of course if it's a dry race they tend to run tyres with a lot less depth of tread in them. So most of these cars won't have much tread if it does rain a lot. If it rains they use newer, more deeply treaded tyres. But here Hughes in trouble, Angevy fighting to get past him. Here typical Formula Ford slipstreaming, up to Paddock Hill Bend. Down the straight, you stay in the slipstream, waiting to pull out at the last moment, try to nip up the inside. That's young Alistair Johnson trying to take the Frenchman's 7th place, not quite making it. But Alistair Johnson also from Northern Ireland having a good Formula Ford festival. Angevy again looks the long way around the outside of Warren Hughes. Cooper Straight, very greasy indeed the straight. It's a long curve, and when it gets wetter there's a river that goes across it. These three actually are beginning to close in on the Brazilian Duna Rosa ahead and Russell Ingle. Trouvenel looking all the way. Angevy, I beg your pardon. Eric Angevy then looking still to get by Warren Hughes. Hughes must have come up and overtaken him early on, but seems to have got stuck. The greasy conditions again not suiting Hughes. And Angevy looking to get by, second in the French Championship. And there he gets a lot of power down. He pulls the inside this time, looks to the outside. All the time these three are closing in slightly on Duna Rosa and Ingle in 4th and 5th. Down Graham Hill, into Graham Hill Bend, very greasy, taking that long, wide line where there's more traction in the rain. Into Surtees. Hughes merely holding his position now, no longer charging forwards. Angevy really getting the power down right in the slipstream of Warren Hughes. He's right in that gearbox, being towed along by the vacuum created by the hole in the air with the car. Then he pulls to the left to try and make Hughes defend. Hughes takes the inside line to Paddock. All the time there, Alistair Johnson taking a watching brief. Angevy again quicker out of Paddock, but cannot find his way as Hughes takes the inside line for Druids. Again, this time Angevy, maybe he's done it, this time all the way around, and that is tremendous, to hold on all the way around the outside of Druids, but now he's going wide. He had to lift momentarily, three abreast, there's one on the grass, Johnson on the grass, now Hughes on the inside for Surtees. So again we saw Angevy took the long way around the outside of the Druids, but the inside line for Graham Hill Bend was too slippery. He slid wide and Hughes was back. Johnson looks up the inside at Clearways. But again, there's not so much grip on the inside, and Angevy now has got to do it all over again. On to start, 2 more laps. 2 laps only remaining. This battle rages for who's going to be on the 6th row of the grid for the final. And every row counts so much. Up ahead, we still have the same status quo. Michael Edgar doing trouble. There we see Duna Rosa trying to take that 4th place and indeed getting past Ingle for 4th place. Out front, Edgar well ahead. There's Finn Murray still having to hold on a second row. Finn Murray under pressure again from Jeremy Cottrell. 4th now De Rosa. 5th Russell Ingle. And here 6th Warren Hughes, 7th Orgevie, 8th Johnson. Through 30s, braking for clearways. Here's where Orgevie takes this very wide line, looking for the better traction to get the speed onto the straight, and there he is right behind. This is tremendous Formula Ford battling here between these 3 drivers. And there we see the leader on his last lap, and really this has been a tremendous drive by Michael Edgar. He's well ahead now of Finn Murray, and Finn Murray again under pressure from Cottrell. Cottrell looks to the inside, but Jeremy Cottrell, I'm sure, will be pleased with a 3rd row position on the final. So Cottrell not going to be too desperate here. Looks like he's going to settle for 3rd place behind Finn Murray, who's going to have to sort out his chassis settings for the final if he wants to do better if it still stays wet. 4th place is now the Brazilian De Rosa. 5th Austrian Ingle, and still the battle rages for 6th place with Hughes holding on. Finn Murray slides through 30s into clearways for the last time. He's going to finish 2nd, but he won't be happy with the fact that Michael Edgar, a tremendous performance, is going to win this semi-final. Michael Edgar from Northern Ireland wins the 1st semi-final. He'll be on the front row for the final. 2nd, Finn Murray. 3rd, a good drive from young Jeremy Cottrell. 4th, the Brazilian De Rosa. 5th, Ingle. And Hughes there holds on to 6th from Orgevie, and a good drive by Alistair Johnson. But they are the winner. Tremendous drive, Michael Edgar from Northern Ireland. The lineup then for the 2nd semi-final, and it's a very damp and greasy track that greets the 28 competitors lining up, the first 14 all to go through to the final. The front row is dominated by the famous Duckhams colours, and there this year's British champion Michael Verges, 21-year-old Dutch lad who's come to Britain to show how good he is. He's got this plum Works Van Diemen drive. And indeed, it was that drive that was driven last year by Nico Palhares, and he has returned to Formula Ford, returned to the same colour scheme. He was the 1989 British Formula Ford champion. He won the festival last year. He's had a bad year in Formula 3. He's come back to Formula Ford to try and win the festival again. Back on the 2nd row, we have a French sensation, Jules Bouillon. He's the French champion, and he's certainly one of the best French drivers we've seen come over to the Formula Ford Festival so far. He's been pushing forward all weekend, and the French now becoming more and more of a force in Formula Ford. Alongside Bouillon, we have Mark Goossens, a Belgian driver who's come over to Britain, actually did the 2nd half of this year's British Championship. He picked up 4th overall in the British Series, Mark Goossens from Belgium. So this year's champion and last year's British champion line up on the front row. The Brazilian on the outside, actually more favoured position on the start, even though Michael Verges is on the inside, awaiting the red lamp, which will then flick to green in 4 or 5 seconds. The grid lined up, 15 laps of this semi-final in very greasy, wet conditions. They await the go, and away they go, and it's Verges that's got the better traction from pole position. Michael Verges, the young Dutch boy, this year's British champion, leads up to paddock. Palhares safely into 2nd as the rest of the field goes up to Paddock Hill Bend before the steep plunge downhill into the dip, up to Druids in the background. That was Dave Coyne, who's well back and has got a lot of work to do to get up into the higher positions for the final. But very slippery now around Druids. There's been some drizzling rain, and it's very quick. There, a spinner, not a spinner, a very sideways Formula Ford, but he held it well, and all the fields go streaming through Graham Hill Bend. Through 30s, up through McLaren, braking for clearways. It's Verges ahead of Palhares there. Rick Morris diving up the inside for 4th. Rick Morris, a Formula Ford veteran, there he is up into 4th place already. He'll probably be enjoying these greasy conditions, which he does so well in. And they're out wide, interlocking wheels, 2 wheels off on the dirt, but all surviving. The field stream across, 1 lap down, 14 to go. Still up out front, it's still Verges just ahead. It's very close to these. Palhares looks up the inside as Verges takes the wider line. Again, these drivers looking for the, maybe not the normal racing line, but one that gives more grip. They take one wide. There's Jules Bouillon, that's the French champion that's showing so well. He's following these two Van Diemen drivers out front, the works drivers, and Dave Coyne charging up through the field in the background. And there, that's almost, he has spun, as Verges has gone at Surtees. Can he? No, he's touched the barriers, he's bounced off. There may not be enough damage to stop him. So Michael Verges, one of the big favourites, will there be any damage? He's back in the race, but right down, we can see there, no real visible damage, but up front, Nico Palhares now thinking, well, the old veteran, I'm all right, but certainly would be surprised to have had the lead handed to on a plate like that, and Verges is going to be kicking himself. But Verges it was who actually became the new sensation of the festival last year. He dropped to about 18th place in the final, which was very wet indeed, and Verges made his name by climbing up through the field. There, another one off in front of us at Druids in the gravel trap. He's trying to get the traction, trying to get it back out of the gravel, and indeed he got it back. That was Martin Kuhner, the Dutch driver. So Verges brought himself up from about 18th to 2nd place in the Formula Ford Festival last year, and certainly he's got a lot more work to do. But there we see, there is Dave Coyne. Now he has moved up tremendously. There, number 44, David Coyne, he's moved up to about 6th or 7th place. He was way back in 18th on the grid. David Coyne, he started his heat with a 10-second penalty for an infringement in practice. He moved up to midfield in his heat from the back of the quarter. He moved up to the middle of the grid for this semi-final, and certainly these conditions have suited him, and he's charged back to the front. So first, second, third. There, Rick Morris now third. Fourth is the Brands champion Germain, and fifth there, David Coyne. A brilliant drive by Dave Coyne. He's a Formula Ford veteran, a bit like Rick Morris up ahead of him in third place. And Coyne so wants to win this Formula Ford Festival for the Swift manufacturer. And he's up against all these Van Diemens ahead of him, but he's doing a tremendous job. And there, Rick Morris making a mistake. Germain looking up the inside of Clearways. Will he get through to that place? That was Rick Morris making a slight mistake at Surtees. Germain doesn't get through, and now it's David Coyne trying to take that position. Indeed, Germain it is who has a slip and a slide, and Coyne goes through up into 4th place. So these conditions obviously suiting Coyne. There's another car bogged down in the sand trap. His Formula Ford Festival over. Morris obviously sliding a lot in 3rd place, and Coyne looking to move to 3rd up the inside of Druids. Morris tries to shut the door and does so very late indeed. Coyne has to duck out the way. Coyne being shadowed by David Germain, the Brands champion, also in a Swift chassis. Rick Morris in a Reynard, while the two ahead of him getting away, both in Van Diemen chassis. So 3 different chassis. There off, that's Bobby Bird and Rowe and Thomas Winkelhock, the youngest of the Winkelhock brothers. And Bird and Rowe, he can spin the wheels as long as he wants, but he's not moving. Morris in 3rd place, still under intense pressure from Dave Coyne, going wider than ever, looking for that grip, and this time Coyne up the inside. But again, Morris finds better traction on the outside line. But Coyne, being shadowed by David Germain, must surely get by soon. Morris takes the lower line. Coyne goes wide up to paddock. Outbreaking on the outside, tremendous. Can he hold on round the outside? Indeed he does. That is a beautiful manoeuvre by Dave Coyne. And using all his experience in these tricky conditions, he has come from 18th on the grid to 3rd place. And now can he catch the 2 flying Van Diemers ahead of him? Straight away, he's moving away from Rick Morris. Rick obviously not happy in these conditions, the car sliding a lot. But Coyne now charging for it. Indeed, Bouillon has caught Palhares up front. So the French champion is closer to Palhares than ever. And meanwhile, Coyne is on the charge. Just completing now 6 of 15 laps, and I think Coyne could easily catch those leaders. These greasy conditions means that more can be done to move forward. In the dry, things tend to be much tighter and closer, but if a driver gets it right in greasy conditions, he really can move forwards. Germain now is the one that wants to get by Morris. David Germain, number 88 there, another Swift chassis, trying hard to get by Rick Morris, but Rick, of course, uses all his racecraft to hold that 4th position. Morris and Germain. Mark Goossens, the Belgian, also holding a watching brief in 5th place. Goossens also keen to get by. Now he looks up the inside at Clearways, but Morris wide around the outside, searching for traction. David Germain in his wheel tracks. Not so close this time. Morris, a little bit of breathing space as Germain builds up to another overtaking manoeuvre, but he's got to be careful because the Belgian Mark Goossens is in his mirrors. Germain there just checks the mirror to see how close Goossen is, but Morris at the moment seems to have settled down. Coyne getting away at the front. Down through Graham Hill Bend. Closer than ever before, up to Surtees. This is a very tricky place to overtake. He's having a look up the inside, but it's not to be. Morris holds that line up to Clearways. Now this is where Germain really must try to get in close, try to get the power down a little bit earlier than Morris, and to get the momentum onto the straight to try and take an overtaking manoeuvre up to paddock. The front 3 now fairly well spaced out. Palhares has got a little bit of breathing space back to Bouillon. So Germain there makes a little bit of a mistake at Paddock Hill Bend. Morris some breathing, but Goossens now challenging Germain. There up front, Palhares, just enough breeze for Bouillon. This really the dice of the moment. Verger's not making much of a comeback. He's down in 17th place. He'll need to get up to 14th in order to qualify for the final. This really the battle at the moment for 4th place. Rick Morris holding back Germain and Goossens. Morris so wide, just right round the edge of the circuit, the cleanest part of the track where there's not so much rubber and the place where most traction can be gained. Now Germain closing back up again. He keeps on having an attack, but each attack costs him ground. He moves back. There's an enticing door open on the inside, but Rick Morris knows only too well that he's going to brake late enough to hold him off. The track, in fact, if anything, getting a little bit drier now, which is probably helping Morris. There, into the barriers. We can't quite see the number. I think that could be Frank Bradley, Mr. Swift himself, which would be a great shame. Frank qualified on pole position for his heat, a tremendous character and a good driver as well, but looks like the end of his festival. But certainly now Morris seems to be edging away. That was indeed Frank Bradley getting out safely. Nice to see. But I think now the track is drying a little bit. You can see that slightly drier line. There's not so much drizzle anymore in the air, and Rick Morris much happier in these slightly drier conditions.
197. I have to look back to the beginning.
10 laps now then, completed by the leaders. 5 laps to go, and now the battle seems to be more between Goossens, and there he goes, straight up the inside of Paddock. So Germain not so happy in the dry. Goossens slips through there, and that'll please Rick Morris. He can have a breathing space for a moment, but Mark Goossens then moves up to 4th. So that little battle seems to be settled at the moment. Morris, Goossens and Germain. 4th, 5th and 6th places. But up front, things getting a little bit tighter. Here we see Palhares coming up to finish 11 laps. He's got Bouillon in his wheel tracks, and there Dave Coyne just lapping a back marker. He's much, much closer than before. So Coyne, with what, 4 laps to go, may pull off a sensation in this race if he can move from 18th to win. Certainly it's possible. Palhares under pressure from Bouillon, but Dave Coyne driving one of the races with them. He's come from being, what, 10 car lengths behind to being no car lengths behind in half a lap. So Coyne really the man on the charge. This is a tremendous drive. Coyne, not always the most popular character, he's a controversial character, but he certainly knows how to drive a Formula Ford, or indeed any other racing car for that matter. He is right with him, he's going to look on the inside at Clears, he's straight up to second. Tremendous, Bouillon probably didn't even know he was going to be there, but Bouillon counterattacks. Coyne on the outside line, maybe with better traction, but Bouillon not giving up that second place. But Coyne didn't wait one corner, he caught them and straight away he attacked. This is Dave Coyne at his best. Now hassling Palhares, he's going to try the outside of Palhares. He's got 3 laps to take the lead, but he wants to do it straight away. Bouillon coming back. Palhares now defending like he's never done before as Coyne looks for the long outside line round Druids. There's one back marker ahead to worry Palhares. There's 3 laps to go, and the reward for winning this semi-final is the front row of the grid for the final, and that can mean everything. And Coyne now looking for the inside of Surtees. He won't do that, he'll take the proper racing line. He'll try to make the most. The back marker ahead moves out, all 3 go skating through the inside. Coyne looks wide, Bouillon takes the inside. Coyne now looking for the traction that he needs to get the slingshot. He's right in Palhares' slipstream. Palhares will surely hold the inside line up to paddock. He'll stay down low and Coyne will be left with the outside wider line, which Dave goes for. Palhares braking later, Coyne snaps back inside, pulls tighter, down paddock hill, tremendous, he's up the inside of him. A perfect manoeuvre. The classic Palhares knew he was under pressure, he braked later than ever before, and Dave Coyne, with 2 laps to go, leads the semi-final, having started his heat 10 seconds behind the rest of the pack. He's moved forward in the reminiscent of Johnny Herbert's famous 1985 Formula Ford Festival when the same thing happened. And Coyne now leading the field, leaving Nico Palhares there to fend off Bouillon. Palhares' teammate Burgess now in the 1 short of qualifying for the final. He's up to 15th place, still some work to do for Burgess even to get in the final. So up to start his last lap goes Dave Coyne in the best drive we've seen so far today. Palhares has a little bit of breathing space from Bouillon. A couple of back markers ahead to worry Dave Coyne. Palhares will be hoping that they might just slow Dave Coyne's momentum for a fraction of a second and give him a chance, but really he's not close enough to do it. In fact, he's more worried about Bouillon. Bouillon right behind him, looking up the inside. Maybe he's learnt from Coyne the manoeuvre for clearways. Coyne has got a back marker, but it shouldn't hold him up too much. Will Bouillon try the inside line for clearways? Coyne around the outside. No, Bouillon playing it safe. He's going to let Palhares have that second place. But after 15 laps of superb Formula Ford racing, Dave Coyne from 18th or 19th on the grid wins the semi-final. Second Palhares, third good drive from French champion Bouillon. 4th, Rick Morris held on. 5th and 6th crossed the line together. So a superb race by Dave Coyne there. He's come from 18th, he's won his semi-final, and the reward, a position on the front row of the final alongside Michael Egg.